Hi students, welcome to lesson number 12, Land Reforms in India, part B. Ceilings on agricultural land holdings. A ceiling on agricultural holdings means statutory absolute limit on the amount of land which an individual may hold. The imposition of ceiling has two aspects. Number one, ceiling on future acquisition, and second one, ceilings on existing holdings. The first plan favored the farmer only, as the latter was expected to create enormous problems of finance, administration and management. It was only the second plan that categorically recommended imposing ceilings on existing agricultural land holdings. Number one, tea, coffee and rubber plantations. Number two, orchards where they constitute reasonably compact areas. Number three, specialized farms engaged in cattle breeding, dairying, wool raising, etc. Fourth one, sugarcane farms operated by sugar factories. And fifth one, efficiently managed farms which consist of compact blocks on which heavy investments or permanent structural improvements have been made and whose breakup is likely to lead to a fall in production. For purpose of redistribution of land, the plan recommended that priority should be accorded to tenants displaced as a result of resumption of land for personal cultivation, farmers with uneconomic holdings and landless workers. To prevent malafide transfers of land, the plan recommended that transfers of land which have already taken place should be reviewed, and for purposes of ceiling, the transferred land should be added to the land retained by the landlord. The main features of the new policy were as under. Number one, lowering of ceilings to 18 acres of wetland and 54 acres of unirrigated land. Number two, the changeover to family rather than the individual as the unit for determining land holding. Lowered ceiling for a family of 5. Third one, fewer exemptions from ceilings. Fourth one, retrospective application of the law for declaring benami transactions null and void. Fifth one, in order to insulate the measures from challenge in courts of law, jurisdiction of civil courts has been barred. Most of these laws have been included in the 9th schedule of the Constitution, which places them beyond any challenge in courts of law on grounds of infringement of fundamental rights. Under various ceiling laws, till September 2001, 2.98 million hectares of land had been declared surplus, of which 2.18 million hectares was distributed to 5.58 million beneficiaries. This shows that only less than 2% land has been declared surplus, while only 1.0% of the total cultivated area has been actually distributed. According to the 12th 5-year plan document, only around 3 million hectares has been declared surplus so far, which is hardly 2% of net sown area in India. About 30% of this land has not yet been distributed as it is caught up in litigations. Besides, a number of benami and clandestine transactions have resulted in illegal possession of significant amounts of land above ceiling limits. Since much of the land distributed under ceiling laws is poor quality, the assignees have to make heavy investment for more efficient cultivation. The allottees are provided assistance the rate of rupees 2,500 per hectare for land development, purchase of inputs and meeting other needs. The 9th 5-year plan and the 10th 5-year plan point out a new problem that has cropped up in recent years in the wake of the economic liberalization. In certain states like Karnataka, the industry and the large farmers are being given exemption from ceiling laws without seeking the permission of the Government of India. This would certainly go against the interest of the poor, as it would increase landlessness and depress agricultural wages. Now, let us discuss about the size of the agricultural land holdings in India. The data shows that the average size of holdings is very small in India. It was merely 1.33 hectare in 2000-2001. 62.3% operational holdings in 2000-2001 were marginal, that means less than 1 hectare. If small and marginal holdings, that means holdings less than 2 hectares are considered together, we find that as many as 81.3% holdings belong to this category and they had 38.9% operated area under them, while 4/5 of operational holdings in India were small and marginal. In 2000-2001, area operated by them was just about 40%. As against this, while only 1.0% holdings were large, that means more than 10 hectares, they had 13.2% of area under them. This shows extreme inequalities in land ownership in India. Not only are the majority of holding in India very small, they are also fragmented into a number of units. The loss of inheritance, increasing number of population, decline of joint family systems, farmers' indebtedness and psychological attachment to land are the main causes for the fragmentation of the land holdings. In view of these conditions, there was a necessity of consolidation of land holdings. Then fourth one, reorganization of agriculture. This includes consolidation of land holdings and cooperative farming. Now, let us discuss in detail about the consolidation of land holdings and cooperative farming. Consolidation of land holdings. The measure is designed to solve the problem of fragmentation of land holdings. The method adopted is to grant one consolidated holding to the farmer equal to the total of the land in different scattered plots under his possession. Initially, the program of consolidation was started on a voluntary basis, but was later made compulsory. As on March 31, 2002, consolidation of holdings had taken place only in area of 66.10 million hectares against a total cultivable area of 142 million hectares. The bulk of the land consolidated has been in Punjab, Haryana, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Orissa. In some states, not even a beginning has been made. In fact, only 15 states have passed laws for consolidation. Those not having laws are Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Pondicherry and the northeastern states. Though consolidation of holdings is a very useful instrument to solve the problem of fragmentation, the task is not completely accomplished unless laws are passed to prevent fragmentation in future. In the absence of such laws, land can be subdivided and fragmented again on account of the factors mentioned already. A common complaint heard in consolidation proceedings in villages is that the rich and the influential often manage to get fertile and well situated land, whereas the poor and uninfluential get inferior lands. Cooperative farming. This reform has been advocated to solve the problems created by subdivision of holdings. The idea is that farmers having very small holdings should join hands and pool their lands for the purpose of cultivation. It has been indicated that 82% of holdings in India are below 2 hectare and 39% of total operated area is under them. Cultivation on such small farms cannot be considered profitable. The strongest argument in favor of cooperative farming is that it is an effective method of solving the problems created by small uneconomic holdings. Holdings subdivided into small and non-viable farms can be pooled together through this method, and joint cultivation on the pooled land enables the members to reap all benefits of large scale farming. Another advantage of cooperative farming is that the marketable surplus of food grains and industrial raw materials can be obtained more easily from large farms and can be transported to the market on a bulk basis in an easier way. Agricultural surplus can be located and transported more easily. It also becomes easier to obtain agricultural data from large cooperative farms instead of subdivided and fragmented small farms. This increases the reliability and authenticity of agricultural data, which is essential for the good agricultural planning. However, the working of the cooperative farming societies has also revealed that their management lacked the necessary professional skills and the willingness to do the work effectively. Inefficient administration combined with corrupt practices eroded the confidence of the members of the society, who were soon disillusioned by the experiment of cooperative farming. There was a reverse tendency in operation, breakup of the society and reversal to individual farming. Now let us discuss about the evaluation of land reforms in India. We can sum up the important criticism into the following categories. Number 1, snags in legislation. Number 2, lack of political will. Number 3, apathy of the bureaucracy. The first one, snags in legislation. Under this, there are many aspects. Number 1, definition of personal cultivation. The definition of personal cultivation was highly unsatisfactory. In most of the states, personal supervision was taken to be a part of personal cultivation, and even this did not require supervision by the landowner himself. It would suffice if supervision was done by any member of the landlord's family. Not even the presence of the landowner in the village was considered necessary. These flaws in the definition of personal cultivation have been a major factor in large scale ejectment of tenants. Second one, limits for retention of land for personal cultivation. Not only was the definition of personal cultivation defective, intermediaries were allowed to retain substantial areas of land for personal cultivation. This enabled zamindars to resume areas of land for cultivation, defeating the very object of zamindari abolition. Only their name has changed. While previously they were known as zamindars, they are now known as absentee landlords. The next one, transfer of land to family members. To escape the laws relating to land ceiling, the zamindars indulged in large scale transfer of land to their family members. Then another aspect is definition of tenant inadequate. In some states, sharecroppers were not accorded the status of tenants, though they cultivated a substantial part of land. Therefore, laws relating to tenancy reform could not be used for protecting their rights. It has also been estimated that a considerable number of tenancies in India are oral and informal. Tenants cultivating such land are not in a position to prove that they are the actual tillers of soil because their names do not appear in land records. The next aspect is the problem of voluntary surrender. Landlords often forced their tenants to voluntarily surrender the land being cultivated by them. The next aspect is inadequacies in ceiling laws. As noted earlier, the levels of ceilings as among different states and within different areas of the same state differed considerably. This created a lot of confusion and frequent disputes. Now the second important aspect is lack of political will. The effective implementation of any law requires some amount of political will and determination on the part of the authorities. Radical laws like the land reform laws, which aim at restricting the entire property relations in the countryside, require a substantial amount of courage and determination for implementation. Given the tardy progress of land reforms, it seems that the governments were not interested in the implementation of the legislations enacted, but were merely trying to wear the progressive and socialistic look while containing to function under the directions and pressures of large farmers. Then third one is apathy of bureaucracy. Side by side, the lack of political will goes the apathy of bureaucracy in implementing the land reforms. In fact, both are intricately linked up together and the latter flows from the former. This would be evident from the fact that whatever enthusiastic administrators sought to implement the land reforms strictly, they were immediately transferred elsewhere by the political bosses. This dampened the spirits of the dynamic administrators in bureaucracy and had an overall demoralizing effect. It has also been observed that a number of persons in the higher positions of the administration are substantial landowners themselves. This shows that the very instruments of implementing land reforms have turned into instruments of subverting land reforms. The nexus between the politicians, administrators and large landowners of which we have talked has brought the rich peasant power into the limelight. This rich peasant power dominates state governments, regional and local administration and serves as the principal instrument of land grabbing and as a strong impediment in the implementation of land reforms. In this lesson, an attempt has been made to analyze the necessity of land reforms in India during the post-independence period and the objectives of land reforms and the measures contemplated to achieve the objectives of land reforms. We have elaborately discussed about the major initiatives as part of land reforms in India, such as abolition of intermediaries, tenancy reforms, ceilings on land holdings, consolidation of land holdings and cooperative farming. On the basis of this analysis, we can state that land reform measures were not much successful in India. It is said that in spite of the implementation of land reform legislations, still the social and economic inequalities are persisting in rural areas and the land has not been distributed equitably among all the sections of Indian society.